93.1. So today, I wanted to talk about two things. There are two Muslim congresswomen who have both started to preach anti-Semitism. One of them, Omar, says that if you support Israel, you have a dual loyalty. You're loyal to a country other than the United States, which is as anti-Semitic as you can get against Jews. And the other one, Talib, I think it is, doesn't recognize the right of Israel to exist. And this is, by the way, what I've been warning people about, that if you bring Muslims into the United States, you're basically putting a nail in the coffin of Israel. And everyone accused me of being anti-Muslim, and I don't think you have to be anti-Muslim to see that that's exactly what's happened. So it's amazing to me that something I predicted a year and a half ago would actually come true so quickly. The second thing I want to say is that the Democrat Party, as some of you may remember, the last thing that Obama did.
Well, wait a second. Should I respond to the first thing before you do the second thing? But all I have to say about the first thing is there was some stuff I was going to study up on, including the Omar stuff. And then I ran out of time because I'm lazy and worthless, so I can't counter your arguments about that until next week when I actually do my homework. Though I did study up on other stuff like Tommy.
Why do you even have to counter my arguments? I mean, well, maybe I'm just right.
Or, well, you might be, but I can't know for sure until I read up on it.
I think it's fascinating that you don't.
Is it relative of yours?
No, wait, I'm not finished.
This might be a valid point
I think it's fascinating that you're so badly informed that by the Democrat media that you don't even realize how terrible these two congresswomen have been to Israel. They've also been supported by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the woman you say you'll vote for. So that's the first thing. The second point I wanted to make is that the Democrats, now some of you may remember that the last thing that Obama did was vote against Israel. He actually ordered his voter in the UN to abstain from a vote condemning Israel in the UN. That was one of his last acts. Condemning Israel for building settlements in an area that is claimed by the PLO. And so Obama voted against Israel on that by abstaining.
You just said he didn't vote, he abstained.
Yeah, an abstention is the same as voting for it. It's technically not the same, but it's a vote of...
It's not the most pro-Israel thing. There are three different things you can do. You can abstain, you can vote for, you can vote against. And so it's not the most pro-Israel thing.
Well, Rick, that's kind of pathetic that you have to make excuses. I mean,
no, but you say one thing, but it's actually like
you're quibbling.
No,
when the United States
say the actual thing instead of.
I just said it. I said they abstained.
Okay.
Which is the same as supporting it. If you it's the first time.
But it's not. It's like saying a tie is the same thing as a loss.
Rick, this is the first time in history that an American president ordered the UN representative to abstain in a vote where the PLO was claiming territory and the Jews didn't want to give it to them.
Okay.
This is anti-Israel. If you can't make up your mind who's right, the PLO terrorist organization,
I know the PLO,
or our ally Israel, if that's a tough one that you can't figure out and you have to abstain, then you're an asshole. Okay?
Oh, wait, you just called me an asshole.
No, I called Obama an asshole, but you're defending him. I don't know why. Why
No,
are
I'm
you
just
defending
saying
him?
when you say stuff accurately.
Okay, accurately.
But you just did, so you don't have to do it again.
Technically, we abstained, but when the American president abstains in a vote between these two, it's the same as support.
Well,
in
just
in
say-
the effect,
you
in
just-
its effect.
The
In
most
its
eff-
effect.
the most effect-
Because people don't understand the rules of the UN, abstinence, support, in favor. Those are technicalities. The reality, the most honest, truthful thing you could possibly say is that when America abstains between the PLO terrorists and our ally Israel, a democracy, that's the same as a stab in the back by a dirty son of a bitch. That's the most honest I can be. You want me to be honest?
No, also, is it really is it the PLO that's saying this? or is
Yes,
it-
yes. Actually, the Palestinian government is the PLO. The PLO was elected in a quote-unquote election to represent the Palestinians. So it's the PLO,
Yeah,
Rick.
but aren't there other parties involved in this?
Hamas runs the Gaza Strip, and the PLO run the Palestinian territories, both of which are dedicated to the destruction of Israel. And the president you voted for couldn't figure out who was right on that issue.
But these are Palestinian territories, right? And it's a
No, they're not. It was about the disagreement was about whether Israel had the right to continue working on settlements in Judea and Samaria.
Okay, so here's where I'm not clear. In that I know that some settlements have, people have different opinions, and it's a political thing. Some settlement areas are highly political, where right-wing Israelis are going in, putting up settlements. Where you put up settlements is an indicator of how defiantly right-wing you are in Israeli politics, and I'm not sure which settlements you're talking about.
Okay, Rick, you've been confused by your media into thinking that the settlements, that Judea and Samaria belongs to the PLO. Because in the world that isn't insane, you wouldn't worry about Israel building a settlement in Judea and Samaria. There's no right wing or left wing. There's just Israel building apartment buildings in traditionally Jewish territory that terrorist groups are claiming. But because you've been confused by the Democrat Party, you're not sure. Maybe there are some settlements that the terrorists should have.
No,
That's
but
a tough one for you.
There are some settlements where right-wing Israelis build as a gesture of defiance.
Okay, so you're on the side of the PLO on that.
No, but there's some.
No, I'm just curious. Are you on the side of the PLO on that one?
No, what I am is.
Do you think the Israelis are wrong on that one? It's the PLO who you side with on this one, right?
Look, I think that the
You're a good Democrat.
Quit interrupting me now. I think Palestinian leadership has been corrupt and terrible, and not interested in any kind of peace settlement for almost their entire, during the modern history of Israel, which began in 1948. I would assume, though I'm undereducated about this, that Palestinian leadership has been shit since 1948, at least. They're corrupt. They make noise about how they're oppressed, and the Palestinian people have terrible conditions in a lot of ways, but their shitty government, which to some extent is a terrorist, depending on which, I'm sure that, like, if I were super informed, I could tell you whether Hamas is more terroristic or whether the PLO is more terroristic. Probably the PLO, but their leadership has been shitty. Arafat was shitty, and the Palestinian leadership wants to keep shit stirred up because it keeps them in power, and the Palestinian people probably suffer for it. So it's, I mean, you can say that the PLO is is running the Palestinians, which they are in their own shitty, corrupt way. But to say that that everything is PLO territory kind of obfuscates stuff. And so, yeah, I'm just underinformed on the politics of the settlements. I know that there are some settlements where middle of the road Israelis build. I know there are other areas where right-wing Israelis build as a FU to the Palestinians.
So you're pretty sure Obama was right to do this then, huh?
No, but what I'm saying is that I'm underinformed about the whole thing.
But your knee-jerk thing is to support Obama because he did this.
No, my knee-jerk thing is to say I'm underinformed.
Okay, I'm going to assure you.
Because like you kind of snowed me on Tommy last week.
No, you're interrupting. I was going to make a point. Let me tell you what I was going to make a point of. We were talking about the Palestinian congressman, and then you interrupted because you said you wanted to say something about Obama's vote, and then you launched into a long explanation that was not required about why you're ill-informed, and I wanted to continue to make my point. Now I'm going to go back to the point that I was trying to make earlier. The point that I was trying to make was that the Democrat Party, which hates Jews and
Democratic
hates Israel,
Party,
the baby killers that hate Jews and hate Israel, have decided that they would try to get this Congresswoman Omar in line. And so what they did was they created a bill, they passed a motion condemning all bigotry, including Islamophobia. So in other words, they did nothing. Instead of condemning Representative Omar for saying that Jews have dual loyalty to Israel and America, and that they're questioning their loyalty, questioning their patriotism, which is a dirty anti-Semitic charge, the Congress got together and voted in a bill that was virtually meaningless, basically supportive of Omar, and saying that we really have to stand up against anti-Muslim bigotry. So that's your party, Rick. Not only are they anti-Semitic, but when called upon to correct themselves, they actually make it worse.
So all but 23 members of Congress voted in favor of this anti-hate speech bill. So, and I understand the deal where the 23 Republicans who voted against it said it didn't go far enough in condemning Omar.
Well, it didn't condemn her at all. It didn't mention her name.
So anyway, the deal is that they said it didn't go far enough in condemning her.
Okay.
All right, so
you agree with the Republicans?
No, I'm just saying that what I'm saying is, or what I was going to say is, I think there are 435 members of Congress. So this bill that you say was too wishy-washy, which it may have been.
It wasn't wishy-washy. It basically supported Omar.
All right, but like it was good enough for 412 out of 435 members of Congress to vote for it.
Did you know that 80-90% of the Nazis supported Hitler? In World War II, a lot of Germans did. It's not a math issue, Rick. I mean, it doesn't come down to math. Your party supports anti-Semitism. And you're still going to vote for him because you put Democrat Party before being a Jew or being a good person.
Well, no, that's not how it goes.
So are good people anti-Semitic now, Rick? Is that what we're going to do now?
You know what? Fuck you, because like Trump has supported white supremacists. You're going to say no when
Trump never supported white supremacists. That is a lie.
He says, I know he kind of speaks stupidly, but like after the North Carolina thing where he said there were good people on both sides.
There were. There are good people that don't want statues torn down. And that's what the protest was about. He's right. There are good people that don't want all those statues torn down out of the South. That's what he was referring to. And you are obfuscating deliberately to be unfair.
No. I just
you
said,
know perfectly well. You know perfectly well that that's not what he meant.
You know what? I just qualified it, and then when I qualify stuff, you say I'm either confused or I'm obfuscating. I said...
Then don't even bring it up.
Well, no, because fucking...
You want to have it both ways.
Hate crimes are up about 30% over the 2 years plus that Trump has been president.
And some of those crimes are against Jews by Muslims.
But most of them are right-wing crimes.
No. We can look up those stats.
We have before, and most of them
we have, and they're meaningless. The percentage is so small, it's meaningless. I want you to face squarely, without talking about shit that happened, Trump saying about Charlottesville that you've got to qualify, without making excuses, without giving me some stupid math issue about the numbers. I want you to condemn the Democrats for being anti-Semitic.
Fuck nah.
Okay, so let me get this straight. When a Democrat congressman, and by the way, she was supported by Bernie Sanders, says that Jews are not truly loyal to the United States. That's anti-Semitic, and you're okay with that. You're okay with the Democrats.
No, I think that is anti-Semitic.
And you're okay with the Democrats not condemning that?
They condemned it in a half-assed way.
No, they didn't. No, they did not. They condemned it and said that they're against all bigotry.
Yes, and
they're equally against Islamic bigotry, Rick.
94% of the House voted for it, Republicans and Democrats. And it's not over yet. They're going to keep, people are going to keep riding the anti-Semitism pony all the way through the election. And yeah, they probably didn't condemn shit severely enough, but they did condemn it
No, they didn't. If I say both sides are wrong, that's not condemning anti-Semitism. If you pass a bill, Rick, you're not stupid. Tell me that you understand that if you pass a bill condemning both anti-Semitism and anti-Muslim behavior, that is not condemning Omar for what she said. That's just saying nothing. That's virtually nothing. That brings you back to zero, if you want a math analogy.
Maybe, but like I said,
You have to support this?
What?
You're supporting this now.
No, I'm saying that I haven't read up on the whole fucking thing because I can't trust a lot of what you say because you get your shit from almost exclusively right-wing sources.
Rick.
And so...
Rick, there is no question that Omar said Jews have dual loyalty. There is no question that the bill in Congress presented by motion presented by the Democrats condemns bigotry of all kinds.
Yeah.
That's not condemning what she said. That's not mentioning her. That's not condemning anti-Semitism. It's meaningless and it's fooled you.
It hasn't fooled me because I haven't. You know what I'm guilty of? Here's what I'm guilty of.
I'm not lying about what I just said.
All right, but the deal is like...
I know you didn't research it, but I'm not lying about what I just said. The facts that I just gave you are true. So why can't you condemn the Democrat Party for not standing up against anti-Semitism?
Here's what I can do. When we break, I'll read up more on it.
Let's break right now.
Okay, fine. But you don't have to... Are you stopped?
Yes, stop.
No, because what I'm guilty of is finding the whole... And I shouldn't be, because, like, there were probably Jews who were bored of anti-Semitic shit in fucking pre-war Germany. They just they weren't paying enough attention because they had other shit going on and missed what was important. And I'm guilty of finding the Omar stuff, I guess, less interesting than some of the other shit I was looking at this week. So I'm guilty of being a bad Jew by not being fully informed about this shit. So let's take a break and I'll...
Real quick, did you see something about your daughter? Or not your daughter, a family member being terrorized because they supported...
No, but I know that this shit kind of drew my daughter into an online argument among her friends where one friend posted a pro-Omar thing and some people supported among my daughter's friends supported that point of view, and other people said were more on Lance's side, saying that no, you can't support Omar at all. That means you're a frickin' idiot if you can't be a Jew and support Omar at all. So yeah, it's drawn in other members of my family, and I've remained so anyway, let's break and take a look.
All right.
93 point later, like 1.5. So I read up on Omar a little bit more, and I don't know, 50–60% of the way to agreeing with Lance, in that Omar has a long history of saying stuff that is pretty much anti-Israel. And yeah, the Democrats kind of wimped out in not explicitly condoning her. Condemning. I mean, yeah, condemning. There's, you know, I mean, part of being a good liberal is not being is being ambivalent about stuff, and there's been a long-standing problem about, you know, whether to be a good Jew you need to 100% support Israel, and it's a weird history in my mind, at least. I mean, and in a lot of people's minds, because there wouldn't be the nation of Israel, which is largely a Jewish state, if it weren't for Hitler killing 6 million Jews. And Israel became a state in 1948. It was under British rule, and then they declared independence. And Israel is surrounded by at least a dozen nations that want to eradicate it. The Middle East is full of nations that have publicly said for decades that they want this nation of Israel wiped off the map and Israelis pushed into the sea. And Israel's fought a number of wars. The initial 1948 war, the 1967 war, the 8-Day War, against its neighbors, who do a bunch of sneak attacks trying to wipe. And for decades, you know, Palestinians have been firing rockets into Israel, into civilian areas, and Israel, in return, is a pretty militant. Is militant in its self-defense, because to some extent it has to be, because it's surrounded by nations that want to destroy it. There's a non-zero possibility that Iran wants to develop nuclear weapons so it can drop nukes on Israel. And Israel's a tiny little country, and it wouldn't take that many nukes to devastate and almost, you know, to destroy it. But this means that, you know, Israel can be seen, depending on, you know, your politics, as as being super violent in its reactions to the provocations of Palestine. But Israel's in a tough position. Israel is a nation that's built the wall. It's put up, how tall are the walls there? 30 feet?
I don't know.
They're giant, these giant walls. If you watch, what's that Z movie with Brad Pitt?
World War Z?
World War Z. There's part of it is set in Israel, and you can see how many zombies they need to pile up to get over these 30-foot walls.
I'm not sure those were real walls in the...
Yeah, but I'm sure they were to scale. The walls are like 30 feet tall. They are fucking big-ass walls. You can't get over those walls. And Israel has had to put them up to stop incursions from Palestinian terrorists. But everybody over there is militarized and politically polarized, and it, you know, among gentle, you know, tofu eating liberals, it raises questions as to whether you can be a good Jew and support an aggressive, you know, super military state in Israel that sometimes, you know, that bulldozes Palestinians' houses and that shoots Palestinians, even though Palestinians are shooting and throwing, you know, it's a mess. But yeah, Omar needs to, at the very least, you know, she's apologized for some of her stuff, but not really, and so I semi-agree with you, but not all the way, and so that, in your mind, that makes me semi-horrible. Let's move on.
Wait, I get to respond?
Yeah, you get to call me semi-horrible for not agreeing with you entirely.
I just wanted to point out that the Israel was beginning to be developed. For some reason, the Arabs like to say that if it wasn't for World War II, there wouldn't be any Israel. Therefore, Israel should have been built in Germany. And I would just like to say that no, Israel was being settled by Jews in the 1890s before World War II, and the British supported them, supported the creation of a Jewish state with the Balfour Declaration, that doesn't necessarily, that's not necessarily law, but it just showed that the countries in the area that had an interest were beginning to let Jews back in and support the idea of a state as early as the turn of the 20th century.
Well, that's Zionism, right?
That is correct.
And the Zionism started in the 19th century.
Right, with Theodor Herzl.
But the big push was Israel saying, fuck you, we are going to be a state after what happened to us when we didn't have a state under Hitler.
Well, there were a lot more refugees, that's for sure. So, I agree with everything you said. I don't think you're a terrible person or that you were wrong about anything. I just am trying to get you to leave the Democrat Party because the Democrat Party doesn't agree with you. The problem is that the problem we've had all along, Rick, is that you're not a true wild-eyed liberal. If I had a real SJW here, a real social justice warrior, we could have had some good debates. The problem is you're too reasonable. And deep down, you know that the Democrats have abandoned Israel and that there's something deeply wrong about that. And I just hope that you have the strength to change someday.
Maybe. I want to say I'll take my shirt off in a sec. I feel a little bloated because Carol and I went out to all-you-can-eat sushi at a new place we'd never tried before, and it was a delicious sushi disaster. If you're not a sushi eater, sushi is one of those things where if you order a la carte, if you don't do all-you-can-eat, if you order item by item and each item you pay for, you're probably not going to get full because sushi's pretty expensive. When I was younger, I wanted to be Sylvester Stallone because he was cool and he got to go out with women who were taller than him, and I thought he was rich enough to have sushi every night. But one way to have sushi, if you're not rich enough to have sushi every night, is to go to all-you-can-eat sushi. But when you go there, you usually get little teeny pieces of sushi. And then you have to keep ordering and ordering to fill up. So we went to this new place and ordered a bunch of stuff to start. And they brought out full-on gigantic orders of sushi. It was like defending your life when they keep bringing out pies for Albert Brooks. The whole table was full of tray after tray after. It was a huge deal. It's way too much sushi. And if you don't eat all the sushi at all you can eat, they charge you the a la carte price, like 12 or 15 bucks per per roll for the items you don't eat as punishment, so people don't over-order. So we were sitting there for frickin' like an hour as it became not fun after about 20 minutes, and then the next half hour was just like forcing more sushi into myself so I didn't have to pay for it, double.
Jesus. So this is what was like a Twilight Zone where you were punished for your greed or something.
That's exactly right.
Your dream came true and it turned out to be a nightmare.
Well, there was an old issue of like Tales from the Crypt or something where a guy goes to an all-you-can-eat spaghetti restaurant on Old Route 66 in this little town and he sits down and he orders the all-you-can-eat spaghetti, and he gets full and he goes, that's it, I'm done. And then the monstrous cook comes out holding a funnel and more spaghetti, and the cook says, no, it's not all you can eat, it's all you can eat. So yeah, it was like that. So anyway, I'll take off my shirt.
Speaking of restaurants, you went to a Mexican restaurant.
Yeah, Friday night. It was a surprise birthday party for my wife's best friend's husband, and she held it at a mariachi joint in Culver City. And we went, and there was an 8-piece mariachi band, and they were excellent. 2 trumpeters, and the one with the big fat deep guitar, and the one with the baby guitar, and 3 violinists, and everybody, they sang in English, they danced, they sang in Spanish. They were really good. And it made me, and the paintings on the walls, this is Casa Sanchez, and they had a giant, like, Pancho Villa, and it was like one of your paintings. It was done in a very realistic manner, except that there were symbols sprinkled throughout, a skull, an angry crow. There were paintings all over the walls of actors like Lupe Velez and Cantinflas from the golden age of Mexican cinema, painted by the same artist. And it was a classy joint, and the performers were really talented. And I'm like, and it was a melting pot. We were next to a table of Persians and a table of Latinos, and I was thinking, wow, we need to let in many more Mexicans, these talented people who can sing in 2 languages and play a bunch of different instruments and dance all at the same time.
Can I respond?
Yes.
Well, my problem is this. I live in a Mexican area, and it turns out that the Mexican women are often beautiful before they gain weight, and the problem is that I always sort of sensed this, and finally I looked it up, and it turns out that Mexican women date outside of the Mexican population less than any other ethnic group. So blacks, whites, Asians, all date, Jews, all date outside. But the most loyal to Mexican men are the Mexican girls, who are often gorgeous. So if we could just change that, I might be with you there, Rick.
Okay.
That's coming from, it's as a policy, as a future Republican politician, that is not my macro policy, but on a personal level, as a single man in his late 50s, I would say that there are certainly some great things about Mexican culture that, if only we could change them a little bit, I might be willing to change my views on the wall. So that's it. All right.
Okay.
Did you have an experience with a bunch of Latinos at an ER last year?
Oh, well, actually, you know what? This segues into it. Good thinking, director. I spent last night in an ER with a Democrat, and what happened was this person, now I'm going to preface this by saying this. I have been to ERs in my area 4 times. And each time you had to wait about 8 hours before you could be seen because they're full of Mexican, Hispanic, or possibly illegal aliens. But definitely what we found by the end of the night after waiting for 9 hours to get seen, the Democrat I was with was saying, build the wall. And
semi-facetious.
No. And by the way, I've had this exact same experience 3 other times. And the reason is this. When California was a wealthy, prosperous state under Republican leadership 30, 40 years ago, they had enough money to have capitalism, but some elements of socialism. There could be some medical things for poor people, free emergency, parts of hospitals, I believe, that were free if you were poor and you got injured. And it worked out just fine. You could go into the ER, you could be seen in a few minutes, and everything was fine. But since the Democrats let millions and millions of illegal aliens into the country in order to flood the country with cheap labor and voters, our medical system has broken down. And I challenge anybody seeing this that doesn't believe me to just come to California and go into an ER and try to get seen. You are witnessing firsthand the result of evil, malevolent Democrat policies that have ruined an incredible state that had an incredible medical system that worked just fine when it wasn't flooded with an extra few million people that shouldn't be here.
So my question is, how is it in other states? Not every other state has the immigrant population that we do. I would suspect that it takes a long time to get seen in ERs and even in states that...
Well, I'll tell you how I can answer that. I've lived in this state, and I know that when I was much younger, before they did this to California, it was much easier to get into an ER.
Well,
so just in my lifetime, it's changed.
Well, okay, but I bet you it's changed throughout the country in that back when doctors were putting leeches on, or barbers, before there were doctors, but there were barbers who would bloodlet you. You know, the red stripe on the barber pole stands for blood. And if you needed bloodlet out of you, because that was supposed to make you better, you go to the barber and he'd slice you and let you leak out some blood, or he'd put leeches on you. I bet you it was really easy to get into the office of the leech guy. But during our lifetimes, medicine has become much more effective and much more crazily expensive. And I would bet that it's not just LA and it's not just California, where more and more people get their medical services from the ER because they don't have insurance. But I don't know.
You're right. You don't know.
Nope.
You know, as I say over and over again, I've gone into these emergency rooms and seen them full of people that could barely speak English. And it's just, this wasn't what California set this up to be. It was supposed to help American citizens, and now it's being ruined. So you can think what you want. That's my final statement.
All right. Well, you mentioned socialism.
Yeah.
And I think you'll agree with me here that socialism is going to be a huge part of the discussion from now through the election of 2020.
I agree.
And there was a tweet that every liberal on Twitter loved from last night or this morning from Devin Nunes, who's a Republican congressman from up north in California.
Uh-huh.
And he said that he had to ask, he went into a restaurant and was not automatically served a straw with his water. He had to ask for a straw. And then the end of the tweet was, "Socialism comes to California."
Yeah.
So my idea is that everything from now for the next 2 years is just going to be called socialism. That it's you guys, Republicans, are much better at branding than Democrats. You call the estate tax the death tax. You said Obamacare had death panels. You've changed the name of the Democratic Party to the Democrat Party because it sounds worse.
I favor baby killers.
There you go. You've got that. Yeah, that's one of your branding deals. That the Democrats support post live birth abortions. You guys are good at that. And part of your labeling for this election cycle is socialism. Everything gets called socialism.
Yeah, you think it's funny, don't you? You think it's funny.
No, wait, I don't think all of it's funny.
Can I respond? I actually was forced to go to a fast food joint the other day, and I ordered a drink. I ordered a Pepsi, and they gave me the whole Pepsi company. I mean, it was like a vat of Pepsi for like something like $1.50. I couldn't drink it all. It was like a 10-year supply. And I thought to myself, God, America is incredible. God, America is incredible. And then I realized, oh no, wait. In New York, they've passed a law that you can't give people that much Pepsi. That's what the Democrats did in New York. They said, you know what? We're gonna control capitalism. We're gonna make sure that people have the government telling them how much Pepsi they get to drink.
What's the limit? 64 ounces?
I don't know the exact number, but in a socialist state like New York that has the ability to do whatever it wants, it will control how much a soft drink you get to drink. So that's what you want, Rick. You want more control from stupid people. Thank you.
Now, like I tweeted last night.
Thank you, Democrats.
In preparation for tonight, because I had a realization.
Yes.
That, like, I ordered, not from you, I'm sorry, but from Greece, I ordered a sculpture, a beautiful little sculpture, for $25, shipping included. And this is a fancy ass sculpture, and for just $25. And I'm like, well, wait a second. This seems like a failure of capitalism. I love capitalism. Well, here I'll get where Greece is in a terrible financial mess. Their economy collapsed. They have like 25, 30% unemployment, maybe more. And at least part of it is, I don't know all the causes, I didn't read up on it, but part of it I know is because tax evasion is endemic in everybody. At least 50% of Greeks avoid paying cheat on their taxes. They just don't pay taxes. And Greece collapsed.
Because they insisted on socialist policies that would require heavy taxes to pay for them.
I don't know, but you've got half the population not paying taxes. And it's probably, you could argue that it's a failure of capitalism, but their economy collapses, so I get to buy a sculpture for $25, shipping included, which is great for me. Capitalism, it works for me. It doesn't work for frickin' Greece.
Well, it's socialism that destroyed their economy.
Well, all right, you can say it's a failure of capitalism and it's a failure of socialism. But what I tweeted was, I love capitalism, but you can't go around calling reasonable controls on and tweaks to capitalism. You can't call every time you want to mess with capitalism, you can't call it socialism. You know, I like cars too, but cars work better with brakes and steering wheels. And let me just make this argument quick, then you can refute me. But I mean, the rest of the century is going to be full of tweaks to capitalism because everything is, you think that Mexicans disrupt American society. I think the disruption, and I said it before, we're adding the world is adding 3 billion high-tech computational devices, machine learning, AI devices, and slightly below that, to the world every year. And so that we'll have 1 trillion AI devices in the world by the year 2100. That's going to disrupt shit. The cost of food as a percentage of people's income in America has gone from 45% of Americans' income, 43% in the year 1900, to under 10% today. The cost of clothing has gone from 15% of Americans' income in 1900 to under 5% today. Shit's going to keep getting cheaper thanks to technology. There's going to be massive underemployment thanks to technology. And all this stuff, and there's going to be AIs aplenty in your refrigerator, your toaster, your sidewalks, your frickin' pancreas, to regulate your insulin. We'll be lousy with AIs. And that is going to affect how the economy works. And not every tweak is going to be socialism, though it's a handy thing to accuse everything of being.
All right, let me respond.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, I have 3 facts that I want to get off real fast before you interrupt me, because they all relate to what you said. The first thing is that I have never said that the issue of AI is independent, or that I've never said that because I'm concerned about illegal immigration that we shouldn't be concerned about AI. Frankly, I don't really have much of an opinion about AI. This is something that I'm not that knowledgeable about, and I'm quite proud of that. But when it comes to the problem of AIs taking people's jobs, I just found out an interesting statistic this week, and that is in real purchasing power, the American blue-collar worker has actually gone down for the past 40 years. In other words, the American poor person can buy less now. It hasn't much increased in the past 40 years.
Yeah, it's been flat.
And the reason is because the Democrats in '65 and in a variety of ways with illegal immigration have brought in millions and millions of cheap workers, of low-paid, low-skilled workers. And that's the main reason why poor people in America are haven't benefited, and their wages have been flat. And it's just common sense. I mean, there's no, don't shake your head and do a little thing with your mouth. It's common sense, Rick. I mean, look, if you bring in, the one thing that has changed in the past 40 years is that the Democrats brought in millions and millions of low-skilled labor from the third world and from Mexico in illegal aliens and from Central America. That's why the poor people don't have the corresponding increase in buying power. So explain to me why that's not true.
You said, okay.
But be in the pose when you do it.
All right, so you're going to disagree with me about the numbers, but right now, according to Pew, and that's the most official statistic, there are 10.7 million undocumented or illegal, whatever you want to call them, aliens in America. Of those, about 8 million are working, but there are 328 million people in America. So, and the flatness of wages isn't just poor people, it goes all the way up through the upper middle class. And 8 million is, to compare apples to apples, you know, the undocumented immigrants are about 3.5% of the population, and that might depress wages a little bit. But you can argue. I don't know where you got your study that says it's the illegals, but
it's
income
also,
inequality. 90% of the growth in income has gone to people in the upper class, especially in the upper, 3%. And we have the worst income inequality in 100 years. And that affects not just poor people, but it affects people all the way up into the 90th percentile in income.
All right, so there you said many things. First of all, I'm also decrying the bringing in of 70 million, 60 million people from illegal immigration. So there's that, one. Two, I don't believe the 10 million. I think it's, my statistics, my company that judges things says it's 22 million.
The Ann Coulter Company.
Well, I don't care. Okay, so the communists support your statistic. The nice people support my statistic, and they say it's 22 million. Some people say it's even more. Ann Coulter thinks it's 30 million. So anyway,
the one who was called a nut by Trump, a crazy nut job, just yesterday.
Well, so now you believe things that Trump says. You support Trump.
Well, I just like when mommy and daddy fight.
All right. So anyway, neither of those things are really relevant, Rick. I'm saying that the importation of 60 million legal immigrants and 22 million illegal immigrants has brought down the living standard of poor people in America. And I don't know how you can argue about that. And wait, and I'm going to just say, I'm going to have to respond to one more thing. The more points you bring, the more things I have to respond to.
That makes sense.
You said for a number of times that you're very upset about income inequality. And I'm not, because I'm not a socialist, as you are. I'm a capitalist, and when somebody is making a lot of money, it's because they're providing services for people. So Mark Zuckerberg created Facebook, and it made him fabulously wealthy because everybody uses Facebook. So I'm not mad at people for becoming wildly wealthy, and it doesn't bother me because I know Jeff Bezos, for example, everybody uses Amazon. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me that he's a Democrat. It doesn't bother me that he's a multi-billionaire. None of these things bother me because I'm a capitalist. As long as it's done legally, these people are rich because of services that they're providing that people want to buy. That's all I have to say about income inequality.
Well,
because I'm not a Marxist like you are.
But, good, because I want to talk about Karl Marx and how he was wrong. All right, so Karl Marx said that history has to follow, not just past history, but future history. The future has to follow a path in which the means of production is owned by the workers, right? That's the deal. That's not just what he wanted, but that's what he thought would become an inevitability, is the workers rise up and take over the means of production, right? That's communism, right? Okay. All right, but Marx was fucking wrong in a lot of ways, but one way is that he thought you would always need workers. But the deal, what happens in the crazy future if the means of production are AIs and the people who own the AIs, the robots, are just getting crazy ass rich, and income inequality, keeps getting bigger.
Well, isn't that one more reason not to bring in more illegal labor?
Well,
aren't you a Republican by saying that?
No, because I'm worried about the inevitability.
So the jobs that are left, you want to give to illegals.
I just think that they're a drop in the bucket. And in fact, there's been net negative, if you believe my numbers, net negative immigration since the crash of 2008.
No, actually, the border had 70,000. There were 70,000 illegals last month. Actually, the Border Patrol says that we're at almost record levels.
Yeah, I know, there's been a surge. But, all right, so in America, in the year 2100, if we get to still be alive, which is possible because of technology, not likely, but possible, there may be 250 billion AIs scooting around or embedded in sidewalks. And 250 billion, 250 billion. And let's say we keep getting undocumented aliens in, and by then there are 30 million of them. 250 billion to 30 million is a ratio of 8,000 to 1. And so, you know, one guy picking and they won't be picking strawberries. Mexicans will not be picking berries in the year 2100. There will be frickin' robots who do a bunch.
There are machines that can do that now, Rick.
Yeah, well, but they're going to get so cheap that they will replace, you know, nobody's going to be picking berries. It's going to be all robots all the time. So, for every frickin', you know, potential mariachi walking the streets of LA.
Or hot girl.
Or hot girl who won't date you because you're not Mexican.
Right, yeah.
And also,
by the way, that's why I'm so virulently anti.
Also will not date you in the year 2100 because you will be 139 years old. You just can't, you can't get a hot girl you may look like you're only, you know, 84 because of advanced medical science, but you still won't be able to get, you'll have to date a hot robot lady. But a ratio of 8,000 to 1 makes me more curious about what that will do, about what the AIs will do, than about what the Mexicans will do to future society. And but the deal is, you're going to have something that some people, we're going to be arguing about socialism, not us personally, but America and the rest of the world will be arguing about socialism more and more over the rest of the century, because for rich people to keep getting richer, you have to give money to poor people so they can give it to the rich people. People who aren't rich need some income to make economic choices so that people can compete to get their money. You know, the next better Facebook, the next better Amazon. So there's going to be something that has at least a whiff of socialism, just so rich people can keep getting richer.
Well, that's kind of a cynical.
Yeah, but everything's cynical.
Strange.
All right, what's next?
OJ.
OJ. So our director has noticed that if you talk about the OJ trial, you get clicks, you get views. So even though it happened 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago now, we should talk about OJ. Do you want to give your opinion, or should I give mine?
I'll start if you want to.
Go ahead.
As you guys, as I've said many times, I live in a very poor area, and it's mainly Hispanic. There are poor Asians, and there used to be poor blacks. A lot of the poor blacks were sort of shot by the Hispanics in this area 20 years ago, so that happened.
Crips versus Bloods?
There were wars over who was going to sell the drugs. But no, the Crips and the Bloods are both black gangs.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, the point is that there was there was a war between the Hispanic gangs and the black gangs in this neighborhood. All that to say, though, however, is irrelevant. One of the things I've learned is that young people, young black people in this area, when they get mad or murderous in their anger, they call it going OJ. And one day I had a conversation with one of my African American brethren, And I said, so let me get this straight. When you say you're mad enough to kill, you're going OJ. Doesn't that imply that black people know full well that OJ killed those people? And she said, yeah. And I said, well, you know, when I was young, before you were born, if you said that OJ killed those people, you were a racist. That actually the blacks that I knew said that OJ couldn't have done it. It just wasn't, it was just an effort of the white man to take down a prominent black. And of course, she didn't know what I was talking about because she was in her 20s. So I would just like to say that the African American community has definitely evolved on the issue of OJ's guilt.
All right, I pretty much agree with you. I mean, right now it's common knowledge that OJ killed Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman, and that the jury found him not guilty, partially to send a message to Whitey, and because the prosecution was completely outplayed by the defense. OJ himself admits that he killed them. He wrote a book, If I Did It, which was...
Don't move your hand, don't move your hand.
It was a wink. It was basically saying how I did it.
Really? Did you read it?
No, but I mean, that's what it is. He explains, if I did it, this is how I did it.
Really? And what does he say?
I don't know, he said pretty much, you know, the way that he went there, he got all pissed off, he slashed everybody's throat. Wow. I didn't read the book, but you don't have to read the book because it's basically the case presented by the prosecution.
Wow.
Also, like, I mean, I know a guy, a bouncer, who is fairly fearless, who's on a golf course, and he sees OJ playing golf. And this is shortly after the, you know, within a few years after the murder, and he goes up to OJ, he goes, "You're an asshole murderer." And OJ says, "I'm not an asshole." So, and I think there have been other instances, and the New Yorker published something like that. Like, so anyway, he did it.
Did you say that something about Judge Ito?
Well, Ito was part of the problem in that when you have high-powered lawyers, we were in our drive down, I compared OJ's lawyers kind of to Trump, where Trump has been a sleazy businessman his whole life. Trump breaks rules, breaks contracts, and then, you know, he's been involved in 4,000 lawsuits, and he just lets his lawyers take care of it, just like he's used to getting away with stuff. And you get these high-powered lawyers, and they go in there and they do whatever the F they want, and if you've never confronted the sociopath equivalent of a lawyer, like Judge Ito, who was inexperienced, he just got steamrolled. The liberals, we liberals spend all day, every day.
You moved your hand.
Sorry, tearing our hair out over Trump, because Trump just does whatever the F he wants, and you know, he's been president for 26 months. He gets away with it. He just does what he wants, and there's never been a guy who just does what he wants as president before, and so nobody knows how to deal with it. And it makes some people delighted, and it makes other people crazy, which leads to, you know, he was signing, people brought Bibles in Alabama. They brought, the survivors of the tornadoes brought Bibles for Trump to sign. And which is, it's kind of crazy, but he just signed them. Okay, he just signed them, and you know, life goes on.
So what?
I mean, he's signing a holy book. This is a guy who's cheated on each of his wives, and he doesn't know how to say you know, 2 Corinthians. What did he say? He said like 2 Corinthians. Or, you know, he's I don't know. What do you want to talk about now?
He's Israel's best friend. He's the best. He's the most supportive of Israel of any president. And frankly, I don't care if he cheated on his wife. What I care about is how he treats people. The Bible is the book of the Jews, and he's been incredibly great to Israel by getting out of the Iran deal, which Obama had made, which was going to give Iran a nuclear weapon that they were going to shoot at Israel, and by supplying Israel with massive amounts of arms, and by supporting Israel at the UN, and by moving the U.S. Embassy to Israel, which basically says... To Jerusalem, I'm sorry. Which basically tells the Palestinians that we're not going to put up with your shit anymore. So I don't care. He can fuck around on his wife, but he can sign a Bible because I'm Jewish, and one of the tenets of Judaism is that it's not so important what you say as what you do. In our religion, acts are more important than faith. So, in my opinion, his indiscretions with these women, if he had them, and I'm not sure if he did.
Oh, come on! I mean, he
wrote a book that when he was younger he did. But the point is that regardless of what he does with his winkle, I care about how great the policies have been for America and for Israel. That seems to me to be incredibly appropriate that he signed the Book of the Jews.
Oh, well, wait, it's also...
Can you take your watch off?
Yeah.
In other words, if I was God, and actually we know what God's opinion is on this, because God was a big supporter of King David, even though King David committed adultery.
He committed murder to get laid.
Right, he killed Uriah Heep, the Hittite.
Because Uriah was married to one of those hot Mexicans.
He was married to Bathsheba, and so David sent Uriah Heep to the thickest part of the battle so that he would be killed so that he could have adultery with his wife. But God apparently still supported David because he was a better king overall. And so we know that the Bible teaches us that there are some sins that are less important than others, and that God has perspective. And I think that having Trump sign a Bible is perfectly reasonable, and in fact, within keeping of the biblical wisdom.
Also, I priced Trump autographs on eBay, and a signed Trump Bible should get you at least $400 and maybe as much as $800. Which, if you're trying to rebuild after your house got blown away, you know, is much better than him tossing you a roll of paper towels.
All right. Should we take a break now?
Sure.
And regroup? All right. Very good.